Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, all the cyclists and the enthusiasts, welcome to India's first podcast dedicated to all you cyclists. This is Hit the Road. I am Rohan Thakar and I have with me someone very special. He is an ultra athlete, and not just that, he is three times Ironman, a Desert 500 finisher. He has been crew to several people who have represented the country internationally. Now, why am I talking so much about him is because he has been a catalyst in upgrading people to competitive cycling and upgrading the scene of cycling in India. And it's not just cycling, but because of him, there are many Ironmans in the country. Yeah. So, without wasting any time, I want to welcome Chaitanya Velhal. Welcome, Chaitanya.
Thank you, Rohan. Thanks a lot for having me here. It's a pleasure to be with you and talking to you. I'm looking forward to having a nice conversation now.
Yeah, me too. And I have been waiting for this conversation like ages now.
Yeah,
So Chaitanya is a guru behind success of many ultra athletes, and he was also a crew to a RAM finisher 2 years back, and
yeah,
so there's a lot which you have done in the past. And why don't you
yeah.
quickly share with us what you did so far?
So, by profession, I'm actually a scientist. Uh,
Wow.
done a master's MS in biomechanics from Australia. I was a research scientist for a couple of years. Then I shifted, I was a research professor actually. I quit that. I started my cycling career back in 2012, competitive cycling. And I've always wanted, my aim was to be one of the best coaches the country has to offer. And that is where I'm heading. Uh, so in 2012, I started my athletic career. I won the DC. I made a record there. I was the fastest Indian. Then I went and crewed for Joan Deichmann, who's a Canadian professional cyclist for RAM 2015. Then in 2015 DC, I came in second again. I won the Desert 500, which was about 740-kilometer race in Thar, Rajasthan. Then I just did the DC this year about a month back. I came in second again. Then
Oh,
I have done three Ironmans, starting with Zurich, which is one of the toughest courses in the world for an Ironman event. I've done the Ironman South Africa, and I did the Ironman Sweden in August, 2 months back, 3 months back. Um, I'm also a coach. I have been coaching athletes since about 8 years now. My specialty is, I like to be competitive, so I want my students also to be very competitive. I currently have students who are actually looking at not just finishing Ironman or finishing a race, but actually competing at the global stage. So we are looking at really cracking the Ironman 70.3 scene, doing posting times of about 4:15 for 4 hours for 70.3, which is really really good, like top 10 in the world. So we have current students in India doing this. Yeah, plus I've got certain ultra athletes also who would probably be competing at RAM, and not just finishing it but actually posting a very good time. Plus, I had a couple of students, Bharat and Darshan. They were the first Indians to finish the race around Austria, which is a very, very, very tough
wow.
2,200-kilometer race. This happened back last year, and it was just amazing coaching them.
Wow. So, in a short span of time, you did a lot of things, and you recently completed the Deccan Cliffhanger, which is India's one of the most coveted races, and
Correct.
you finished second this time. So, how was your
Yes.
experience from the past races, and how can you compare it to this time?
Well, it this time, so the DC, which is like 643 kilometers race, right? So it's
Yeah.
actually qualified as an ultra race, but how it happened for us, like there were five of us who were, all looking for the win here. And these five are the very super competitive athletes. They wanted to win the race, and these are the kind of racers who will actually, uh, trying to finish the race in about 22 hours, which is the current record, right? And it was super competitive. It was like, how a 100-kilometer mass start would look like. Finishing with almost photo finishes. That is how it was like. I finished second, and I had like a gap of. I had a lead of barely 3 minutes over the guy who came in third, and
Yes.
another 3 minutes over the guy who came in fourth. So it was extremely hard, because usually ultra races, I have won my ultra races in with a cushion of at least 1 to 2 hours.
Right.
So very very competitive. It was fun. When you have such good competition, it's always nice.
It does. It does. So,
Yeah.
what are your takeaways from this season compared to the past? So, what do you take away from this season of the race?
The takeaway is, so one. There are two things for me. One is, I had applied certain strategies, I had experimented upon certain, two or three things: nutrition, training techniques, and race strategy, which really worked for me because I was able to break my own time by about 3 to 4 hours. So
Wow.
I had finished my first DC in 26 hours 40 minutes, and this one I finished in 24 hours, 2.5 hours improvement. So it really really worked for me, and that was one thing. And the second was that the the quality of racing in India is actually becoming, it's getting to the another level, which I'm very happy about. There's a new breed of cyclists, ultra athletes who are coming out, who have very good equipment, who are serious about their training, and they know their stuff. It's not just like, they'll just come off the block and they have been doing some BRMs and there they are with you. No, these are actual serious athletes who have been training for that specific event with very specific equipment, also very high end equipment. So that is the quality of people who you're competing with. So that was, it made me very happy.
Very well. And this was a very competitive race this time, and a
Yeah.
lot. There were previous athletes who tried to outtook you as well. Am I
Yeah.
right?
Yes. Yes.
So, speaking about nutrition in the race, uh,
Yeah.
what do you say about how do you optimize your nutrition? How do you optimize your resources, and keeping the limited resources in mind? How do you
Yeah.
train for that specifically?
So, firstly, nutrition, it's a very tricky thing. So, I've done my sports nutrition course from the US, in precision nutrition.
Okay.
So that really helped me understand the basics and how the food affects the body and how it's converted into energy.
Hmm.
And using this knowledge, I have been experimenting upon myself in the last 1 to 2 years on what's working for me, what's not working. And this experimentation, I have been fine tuning it since the last 2 to 3 years. Plus, every time I do an ultra race, I get better at coming closest to the best nutrition strategy possible,
Right.
which happened this time for me, and there was absolutely no problems. Like, I never had cramping, I didn't bonk. So it was perfect nutrition strategy for me. It worked really well. So for example, I experimented using liquid nutrition. Does it
Right.
help or no, right? So usually if you just, you can read up on the internet, but it's always, it's you don't know what to do, because some people say yes, some people say no, right?
Right.
So I actually went through it, and each time I raced, I used these different strategies. Now, I had about a couple of students also in this race, and they were rookies. They were doing an ultra race for the first time, and they finished it. They RAM qualified.
Wow.
So even that, bolstered my coaching philosophy also,
Mhm.
right? The nutrition strategy worked for them as well as me. So basically, I that is one thing. Like, you need to really customize the nutrition for you. It's nothing like what you look on the internet, or it's not. It doesn't work like that. You have to use it in training and use the same strategy for the race. Never try something new. That's for one. And a lot of people think that using gels also, works a lot. But in ultra racing, I found that this TC, I didn't even use a single gel.
Wow.
My 20s, 2014 BC, I had used about 20 gels in 20 hours. But this time I didn't use a single gel, and it really helped me.
So what did you use exactly when you say it's a liquid food? So what was
No,
that?
I did not use liquid food. I actually used a lot of solid foods, and that really helped me. I used a lot of dal khichdi.
Okay,
I probably have had about 3 to 4 kgs in this 24 hours of racing.
2 to 4 kgs. Oh my
Yeah, that's a
God.
lot. Yeah,
Wow. So when someone wants to start their journey in ultra cycling or ultra racing,
yeah.
what should be the strategy to start the training? And you yourself are a coach, so what do you
Yeah.
think, what mistakes do people make today in their training habits?
Well, one is definitely the nutrition part, which is very, very, very important. A lot of people underestimate it, or they do not train for it.
Yeah.
So, or they usually end up, utilizing something new into a race,
Hmm.
which is a very bad idea. I mean, if you have not tried and tested it in training, do not use it in a race.
Right.
It will backfire 100%. That's one big rookie mistake. Second is the training part. I mean, if it's say a 600 kilometer race, make sure you train for it. You train according to the race terrain. Do not underestimate it. Or a lot of people come in underestimating the event. Uh, Undertrained also.
Mhm.
So I would recommend, if they are doing it for the first time, try to do it a lot, under the guidance of a person who has done it before, been there, or get a coach. So that actually helps a lot, because ultra racing is not a very cheap sport, right? So if you are planning
Yes.
to do DC, something like a DC for the first time, you will
Mhm.
actually be investing somewhere around 70 to 80,000, right?
Wow.
So I would recommend, just go a little further and get a coach, so you can have a very good experience doing this, and
Right.
not, crawl to the finish, or you don't want to have a very bad experience. And coming to the second part of your question, the resources.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, the resources are very, very scarce, right? And it could be and when I say resources, it could be your limited amount, crew that you have. It could be the funding that you have.
Right.
It could be you couldn't, you may not have the best equipment, right?
Yes.
So you train according to it, right? If say for example, I may not have the best cycle out there, but I will make sure that I have my fitness is so good that I don't need the best equipment to actually do well, right?
Right.
You do what you have in your control, and you make sure you do it to the best of your abilities. But yeah, I mean, say I this time I had 2 cars with me,
Okay.
because I was really going to be competitive,
Mm-hmm.
which really helped me, because before I had used only one car. But this time it actually helped me cut a lot of times, and yeah.
So
But
does it help a lot keeping the two cars as a crew?
Yes, I mean, it did help me, because in this 24 hours, my off saddle time would have been barely 10 minutes.
Oh,
Yeah,
within
that's where
in
the
24 hours, just 10 minutes of saddle off saddle
off
time.
saddle, correct. And
Wow.
this was only possible because of having 2 cars.
Okay, so
Yeah,
in an ultra cycling, crew is one of the most important parts of your race. Like they are your team members. So
yeah.
how can the crew be the most efficient to bring out your max performance?
Correct. So this is where I was actually coming to, because
Mm.
if you want to best utilize your resources to the best of your abilities, you got to make sure you're efficient, right? You
Yes.
got to minimize wastage,
Mhm.
so time wastage or anything like that, right?
Right.
So my crew, I have actually been training them since 2014. It's the
Okay.
same crew who's actually been crewing for me since the last 4 years. And this is my long-term plan. Because I may be doing RAM in some, in the future, and
Right.
other ultra cycling events or Ironman, or it could be anything, right?
Mhm.
I know I can rely on these people anytime I want, and they'll be there for me. I actually, I when I'm out there racing, I have my whole life is in their hands. So
Right.
I take very, very good care of them. I train them, in crewing, in nutrition. So, these crew, they come from different walks of life. They may not be some of them are athletes, some of them are not. But they know every aspect of ultra cycling. They know nutrition. I mean, as good as if they are, they could be certified nutritionists. They know it that much. So it's that important that they know everything about all the aspects of racing. So that is the investment that I have done. I know I have done countless hours of training with them. So they are much more efficient, and it's all my stops in the
Mhm.
ultra race are like pit stops.
Right.
It's like every time I stop, one guy is if I'm changing a bike, they'll I probably change a bike within like 20 seconds.
Wow.
It's like a F1 pit
They're
stop.
just switching off the bikes. Yeah.
Correct. So if I stop for a stretch break, one guy is taking the bike, one guy is putting the mattress, one guy is massaging. There's no like one guy is just standing there and doing nothing. No, it's it's always very, very busy. My crew is always busy because I'm a very demanding rider.
Wow. So
Yeah,
to get that performance, you need a super strong team as well.
exactly, exactly. It would not have been possible without them.
So you yourself crewed for RAM 2 years back,
Yeah, yeah.
and what was that experience that you had?
It was amazing. It was in during the earlier parts of my career, when I was learning. I'm still learning actually, but that was a big eye opener because the thing is, a lot of people, who will finish something like a DC distance race,
Mhm.
and they get RAM qualified, and then they are like, okay, I think I should do RAM now. But when I went there and saw RAM, like it's a different kind of monster. I mean, DC is like 600 kilometers, and
It's
RAM is like 5,200.
it's almost 10 times.
It's exactly, there are a lot of steps in between that you need to go through. It's not like you did DC, now you're RAM qualified, so let's go do RAM. No, that was the biggest learning that I had.
Okay.
So that's why I actually postponed my RAM, because I want to do, when I do RAM, my plan is to really kill the time.
Okay.
So I don't want to be another RAM finisher. No, I would like to do it in a very, very, very good time. That was one. Then obviously crewing for Joan, who is a super professional athlete. She's done RAM 3 times. There was so much learning. The crewing part. I saw the terrain. I saw the kind of professionalism and discipline that Joan had. The kind of mental strength that she displayed. It was just amazing. On all of this was I was my foundation for my athletic and coaching philosophies.
Okay. So it is my experience, and I think you'll also agree that the race is with you yourself, and
Yes, correct.
you win the moment you think you can win.
Yeah.
So how does one train for that kind of mindset?
It's all in the mind. I mean, if you're racing, or especially cycling or even triathlons, it's a lot of it is just mental strength. I
Right.
mean, if you're prepared mentally, half the battle is won there.
True.
So I make sure that I myself train my mind a lot. I coach my students with a lot of mental exercises. So that's the thing. I mean, for example, for DC, there's some basic mental exercises that I do, that my students also do,
Okay.
is what we call as visualization, right?
Right.
So what we do is we sit like a meditation kind of a way.
Okay.
Close your eyes and visualize everything that can go wrong. Everything, from the worst possible scenario, and then you imagine what would you do if that happened.
Right.
For example, in DC, it could be, say, your car just broke down, know, or you have a knee issue, and if you are planning to, really kill it and be the first, if you're planning for that, but then you come in last,
Right.
what are you going to do? What is your mindset going to be? Are you going to quit and not complete, or are you going to just finish it even if though you're coming in last? Or it could be a very, very, very hot day and you could be cramping. Each of these situations, if you visualize and if you plan for them,
Right.
and if things do go wrong, the biggest time waster is panicking
Right.
and
Of
not
course.
planning for it. So when you visualize this, you plan for it, it's going to happen. So you know what you're going to do in these cases. So I think that's where you'll save a lot of time, be more efficient,
Right.
not panic,
Right.
yeah, and be a champion.
When you said maybe your car can get broke down, so I had really weird thoughts in my mind. What else can
Yeah,
go wrong, man? And like just
it
before
has
the,
gone wrong. One of
yeah,
my students.
I read one of your TED talks where you said
Oh
that
yeah, yeah,
uh, you had a accident, right?
correct. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so that is one of the incidents which can happen. And
correct.
now that you're saying, I can totally imagine that, man. It's not just race; really it's like a gamble which you do.
It is. It is. I mean, you if you want a certain time and a certain result, uh, it may never happen in a single race. I mean, I have been trying for a certain time in my Ironman, and I'm not getting that. Every time I do an Ironman, there's something or the other that keeps going wrong, which is not in my hand, in my control. So I think I may finally get. I'm going to keep attempting till I finally, everything falls into place. It's like a gamble, as you just said.
So
Yeah,
when people say mindset, they
yeah,
usually say that what positives can happen, but you
correct.
rightly said what negatives can also happen. So people
Yes,
should
yes,
keep in mind what can happen with that. So what do you
yeah,
suggest? What can one do when some similar incident can happen? It should not happen, but what if it
yeah.
happens?
So that's the thing. Yeah, if you have visualized it, you know what you're going to do. So if I know, like, before my DC, if I have, if I have, I'm gonna have, say, I've had a crash, right?
Yeah.
And if I can keep cycling, my mindset is that no matter what, even if I come in last, I will still finish it.
Mm-hmm.
I am not somebody like, if I'm not gonna come first, I'll just quit. No. So
Yeah.
that's just my choice, right?
Okay.
Some people be like, okay, if I'm not gonna come first, if I'm not in the top three, I might as well quit. That's their
Right.
choice, right?
Right.
So you gotta have these choices beforehand.
But that
So
choice is quite expensive.
it is. So all these need to be considered.
Mm.
Um, Everything. So then you also got to make a call key, if you are actually be able to finish the race or not. Will
Yes.
it have a long term impact? I mean, if your
Mm-hmm.
knee is having an issue, and if to continue another 100 kilometers is going to make it worse, then I would suggest, okay, stop, because you are still want to race the next year. You don't want
Right.
to be in a hospital for another 4 5 months or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
right? Then preparing, like, say, something like, say, a car issue, you got to make sure you know all the resources that you have on the route.
Right.
So where are the garages?
Mm.
Do you have any contacts in the towns that come on the way? For
Right.
example, I had a friend, I had actually a student of mine in Belgaum.
Mm-hmm.
After about 400 kilometers into the race, the town comes. So I had made sure that I am in touch with that guy, and he's there to help me out if there's anything last moment that I need.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the kind of preparations I had done, and actually it really helped me, because we actually ran out of food at that point. And
Okay.
this guy, my student, his name is Saish. He actually came in the middle of the night and gave me
Wow.
food.
And I
Uh,
believe Belgaum is the point when you reach about midnight, if I'm not wrong.
yeah, Yeah,
Wow. And
correct.
getting
Yeah,
something at that hour is like a miracle, I can say.
yeah. I mean, he actually gave me a couple of kgs of dal khichdi, so it really helped me
Couple of
finishing in a good time.
kgs. Hmm,
Yeah.
interesting.
So that was good. So that this is all a lot of preparation that had gone into the race.
It's a lot. So when a rookie wants to start planning for his first ultra cycling event or
Yeah,
Ironman,
yeah.
so what do you say? How can one approach it? And in
Approach
what
me.
time frame? How
Yeah.
can one approach it? And in what
Okay.
time frame can one approach it?
Okay. I would suggest you have to evaluate your own abilities
Right.
and if and be very realistic about it. So not have any really optimistic illusions. Also, I would suggest you can always talk to someone who's done that event before to have a very realistic scenario, and and then even before you decide to do it, you got to make sure you choose the right. Say if you want to do an Ironman, you got to make sure you choose the correct race route. That's very very important, financially also, and the ability wise also, because some Ironman routes are comparatively easier than the others, while some are more expensive than the others. It all depends on what a person wants from that race. So that is one. Then training specifically for that event, and not doing too many other things which can clash with that event. uh, you got to build it up. So for example, if you want to do an Ironman, then we can start off with doing certain triathlons in India, in that time frame. Do a half iron triathlon and see where you stand. Once that timing comes in, then okay, I with this time I know that I can, probably in an Ironman we can expect an XYZ time. That's a good way to do it. You train, and you finalize your nutrition strategies, your race strategy. You find what your weaknesses are, what your strengths are, and then play accordingly. Because Ironman is not, again, very very cheap thing. If you want to do a full Ironman, you got to go out of India. And if it's a half Ironman, they just announced
Oh
a
yes,
half
they have
half
just announced,
Ironman
and
in
it's
India. Yeah,
less than a year to go.
correct.
So,
October.
so what are your expectations from it, man? So how is it going to be? What do you say?
It's very, very, it's awesome. I mean, it's the best thing that can happen for the triathlon scene in India. A lot of financially challenged athletes can finally, dream of doing the Ironman here in India itself, and it's really amazing. And hats off to my colleagues in who bought the Ironman to India. In fact, I've also been one of the people trying to get it to India. It's really amazing, and I expect the sport to really go to another level now.
So a lot of potential athletes will get access to an international platform from this race, I believe.
Correct.
And you yourself left your job to make a career in ultra events,
Ultra
especially.
events, triathlons,
Yeah,
yeah.
so it's a choice which not many can make, especially in a field of cycling, which is still very much I can say underdeveloped.
Correct. It's not easy. It's not easy at all. I mean, I struggled a lot. The times that I've been through, I was really, really broke. I mean, I had a very good stable job as a professor. I was earning well, and then quitting that and coming down to, you know, I was barely earning anything. It was peanuts. Um, and then, in the earlier parts, I had approached a few people for sponsorship, which, they declined. And but then back in 2017, the same people came to me. This was Merida I'm talking about. They came some to say, and they are like, okay, Chai, you have done really well. We like your persistence, and here you go. We would like to give you cycles worth 6 lakhs for your
Wow,
races.
wow.
And that was like a big moment for me. Like, I now have the best equipment which I can race on now. And I really thank Merida for that and believing in me for that.
Wow, so there are so many people who look up to people like you who want to
Yeah,
get into the scene of uh, being pro athletes. So, what do
yeah.
you suggest? How can they approach it? How can they make their dream of being full time athletes?
Okay, so this is something you need to look at in two different ways. One is the athletic part, one is the business part,
Right.
right? So I have actually been a director and operations manager for MultiFit, which is a gym pan India.
Hmm.
We have got about more than 30 gyms, so I was handling the business part as well.
Okay.
So I know the athletic side, I know the business side. I have been mentoring athletes just for this, how to get sponsored, how to build your profile. What do sponsors look in an athlete, to before investing in them?
Right.
Because sponsors are, they are businessmen, right?
Of
So
course.
you got to make sure that they get the return for their investment. And this, I currently have a team here in Pune, a racing team who are racing nationally. And we do a lot of workshops. We manage their social media, and we manage how they, appear in front of, how to manage their own portfolios,
Right.
how
Right.
to build a followership. Because that's one of the, what do sponsors want? They want reach, right?
Of course.
They want eyeballs. So that's where I'm helping, my athletes to build their profiles, to win races. So only winning is not just the thing, right? You've got, put yourself in such a way that you might actually be able to enable selling of whatever the sponsor is selling.
You're creating influencers in short.
Correct, correct,
Hmm.
correct. That is a big thing. I learned all of this the hard way. I never had anyone to mentor me here. But I think I can really help people who are looking to be pro athletes, who are looking to make this as a career. I have the platform ready, and I actually need a lot of good people who want to make this a career. I can really help them. So if anyone really is listening and wants to make this as a career, you can, reach out to Rohan or me, and, we can really help you out.
Wow. So, can you just give some quick tips as to how can they improvise their own portfolio right now?
One is social media. I mean, you got to make sure that people, you got to have a good content to put up,
Right.
and this can only happen when you are a proper, genuine athlete. You can't just look good and take good selfies. No, you got to be out there in the community doing good things, winning races. Okay, forget winning. Winning is only one part. You might be a winner, or you could probably just be very consistent and always doing something. Even that's okay. But you got to be out there. You got to be seen by the community. You should be known by the community, and that really helps. And that's all you need. And build a good followership.
Right.
Be a good person. Give back to the community as much as you take from the community. If the community, you are winning in a certain, cycling races, and the you have all the infrastructure around you, are using it. It's a good thing that you give it back. You help somebody else win, or you help, you teach somebody, and that's gonna help you go further in life.
Right. This episode is about cycling, so if anyone is listening, please sponsor us. Yeah, we need it.
It's not very easy. It's not very
It's
easy, but
not.
there
It's
are
not.
people out there who are interested.
Yeah.
So it's just you gotta find them. Talk to them in a pure business language,
True. True. True.
and it really helps. Yeah.
True. So, what is your coaching philosophy? How do you get things done from your students?
So being a scientist, for me, I one of my biggest aspects about coaching is utilizing the latest scientific techniques, and whatever the science has to offer. So currently, I'm actually also doing a research paper with one of my students on training for power training for cyclists.
Mhm.
I'm actually doing a comparative study of heart rate training versus power training.
Okay. Can you elaborate on that? What does that mean?
So basically, you know what a power meter is. A lot
Yes.
of cyclists will know this, right? So we are studying that using a power meter for training, is it really much more? Is it better than just using heart rate as a factor for training, and by how much? We are actually studying this, and we are actually experimenting upon different athletes and how much percentage difference does each of these training do, and which is better.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is what we are doing, and this is going to really help me coach much better. Plus, everyone just is currently assuming that power training, or probably a lot of people don't even know how to train with power.
Okay.
But it really helps, and doing a FTP test, doing a power profile test. This is what I do.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would, my one of my aims is to create an athlete lab where doing all of these things is possible, and having the access to this for a cyclist is also there.
Now that I'm listening to all this,
Yeah.
most of them don't have access to any of these things.
Yes, I know
All
that.
they have is at the most heart rate monitor. And
Yeah, so that is where I'm working to. So right now, my students have the access to that. So I would, I'm happy to show whoever is listening, if they want to come and check it out. How we do things, how we utilize the latest scientific techniques in training, the nutrition techniques, then the mental exercises that we do. All of this apart from, yes, all the training that we do, yeah. But then these things, the marginal gains is what makes it different.
of course, of course.
Yeah.
So what's next, man?
Next thing, I'm doing the Ultra Spice in Jan.
How many kilometers?
It is 1,750 kilometers from
Straight up,
Goa.
straight
Yeah,
three times.
it's a big one, from Goa to Ooty and back. Um, and the average climb in this Ultra Spice race is much higher than the average climbing per kilometer for RAM. So it's much it's very difficult, and it's something I've never done before. So I'm really looking for it. It's going to be a big challenge,
Even the
and I'm
route is
sure I'm
quite scenic for that race.
very much. I mean, like, imagine it's going through the Zog Falls. It's through Madikeri, Wayanad, the tea plantations of Coorg. I can't wait.
Wow, awesome! I am thrilled to. I would be thrilled to participate in that sometime soon. Maybe
Yeah.
again listening to your podcast, I can.
You
aim
should
for
come
that.
down. We can set you up as a crew and come down.
Would
Definitely.
love to. So, do you aim for RAM anytime soon?
I can't put a year on it right now because apart from the training part is definitely the financial aspect of it. So, but yes, I do definitely want to do it. Can't say when. Maybe it could be next year, or it could be the year after. But yeah, I mean, that is on the horizon sometime.
Till then, what is there? What is there on the table?
So there are there's a steps that I'm taking towards RAM. You do so. This one, Ultra Spice, for example, is one of it. So from
Yes.
600 kilometers, I'm stepping up to 1,700 kilometers. Maybe do a 2,000, 2,200 odd kilometer race also. Then I want to do the World Championships for ultra cycling also, which happens in America.
Mhm.
I've been, would like to do that. Been invited for that also.
Wow.
So yeah, these are the steps that I'm taking towards RAM.
Wow.
Which
Ironman
I think,
Championship as well. Are you looking for?
yeah, that is also there. But for me, before I do that, my aim is to do a sub 10 finish for the full Ironman,
Right.
which I have done in training. Just that every time I go out and race, one time I had a puncture twice. Then I had a foot issue, a leg issue in my Sweden Ironman. So I definitely hope that I finally things will fall into place for me in during an Ironman event, and I finally get my sub 10 finish.
Even I hope for that. I'm sure
Thank you.
our audience is with you for
Thank you.
your future endeavors. So, what is your
Yeah.
message for today's youth who wants to make something big in their life? And it can be anything, maybe be it being an athlete or even in their professional and personal life. What do you say?
I would say, especially for the youth, is do not let the old times hold you back. Dream big. Go for your dreams. So for example, a lot of people, the older generations,
Yeah.
times were different back then. Today, there's a lot of cross pollination happening. I mean, you could be an engineer and you could have a career in sports, or you could be a lawyer and you could be probably having a career in doing probably setting up a cafe or something. You see a lot of these examples have coming in every single day in the papers, in on social media. So for example, I'm a research scientist, but I'm cycling and coaching here.
You're
So
applying that research in
yeah,
sports
yeah,
now.
I found a way to apply that. So you can do that. I mean, definitely, your whatever you have studied, they're not necessary to find, to go by the beaten path. If you dream something, go for it. Find the means to do it, and things will fall into place. And that is my message to the youth. Go for your
Wow,
dreams.
that's awesome, Chai. Thanks for coming on the show. And if any one of you have gained some experience, do share with us in the comments and make sure you spread this episode with everyone out there because there's a
Yeah.
lot to learn. And make sure you comment what you think about this episode. You can listen to this episode on JioSaavn, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, everywhere, and even on the website ep.log.media/hit the road. Oh, Chai, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Rohan. Thanks a lot for having me, and thanks everyone out there for listening to this. I really hope you get your best possible timings out there for your races or for whatever events that you're doing. Be safe out there. Yeah, be the best racer you can be.
Wow, that's awesome.
Thank you, Rohan. You're really doing a good job, Rohan. Really, hats off. We respect what you're doing, and
Thanks,
definitely, if you
Chaitanya.
need anything, God bless you. Thank you.
Thanks, Chaitanya.